One team I did want to focus on in terms of vacated targets, the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, so they're
So
fourth
they're
at
fourth.
227.
And
40% of their target share has been vacated.
do you realize that DeAndre Swift was second on the team in targets last year?
Not after I saw he had, what was it, like, was it 70 targets?
70 targets.
Yeah.
And that was
Doesn't
good for.
surprise me because you trade Hawkinson halfway through the year when, I mean, you had Josh Reynolds was a key piece of that passing offense for
Mhm.
4 weeks. I mean, it doesn't surprise. And then he got injured. I mean,
And DJ
Amon
Chark.
Ra, Amon Ra was hurt. DJ Chark was hurt. Like they just couldn't
Mhm.
keep anyone healthy. So no, it doesn't surprise me.
And a lot of those guys are gone now, and that's where that number comes from. The Swift 70, as well as the Khalif Raymond 64. I believe he's gone. No, he's still there. It's the other one that's gone. It's Chark. Chark is gone. I believe Josh Reynolds is gone. Yeah, Hawkinson's are gone, obviously. The 16 from Jamal Williams is gone also. I bring this up to point out that just the targets are up for grabs for both Montgomery and Gibbs, right? And Jamison Williams, when he comes back, he could step right into what Chark had. But the fact that the second leading target getter last year was a running back, I just want to keep on hammering home Gibbs and Montgomery. I think they both can be excellent.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking down the line here inside the 10 percentage. I was kind of looking and a couple things that stuck out to me. The Cowboys being sixth, which I think a lot of that's probably Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
40% of their inside the 10 target share has been vacated. Makes me a little excited about Jake Ferguson, but also CeeDee Lamb having that big touchdown year.
And maybe even a little bit of Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup love there too, right? Especially Gallup,
Yeah,
because that's kind of what Gallup can actually do.
right. Right behind them, well, they're actually tied percentage wise, would be the New York Giants. That kind of inside the 10 percentage is
Right.
where I have it
Which
sorted. They're
it
40%,
which is
not
only 8 targets, by the way.
only 8 targets.
Just that's important to point
I
out.
saw that after I said it.
That's probably one player, right? And
Well,
also,
I was thinking Darren Waller
oh, coming in, sure.
coming in. Yes.
Do you know are franchise tag players included in those targets being vacated? Because Saquon being on the franchise tag, I don't know if he's included or not.
It just got updated on the 8th of the of
Right, but
or
he's
just
not technically signed, is what I'm saying.
correct. So
So
yeah,
I don't know if those are considered vacant at the moment until he actually signs the tag, or if
I don't
the or
know.
not. So that's when to put a pin in, I think, because if that includes, okay, if they're saying, well, 8 targets are gone, all 8 of those could have been Saquon, right? Or a good chunk of that, at least 2, right? And then that number drops significantly. So I'm not 100% sure on that.
This probably be better. I should have sorted just inside the 10 totals instead of percentage wise.
Yeah, because it's
Because
such a
I do
low
that,
sample size. It's a
you
low
do that,
number.
and all of a sudden the Vikings jump up at number one with 18 vacated targets inside the 10.
Adam Thielen still was getting targets, man.
Yeah. But do you think some of that is going to lean Hawkinson? Do you think some of that could help Addison have a rookie year that he's a starting flex option? Or do you think
Uh,
that just leads Justin Jefferson to, or is it going to spread out and no one really moves for you?
Well, I think we talked about way back when we were doing rookie drafts that I think Jordan Addison's the best rookie wide receiver for year one.
For
And
redraft year
the
one for
main
sure.
reason was I thought you could pretty much take what was going towards Adam Thielen and place it 90% of it onto Jordan Addison. So I
Yeah,
think that's
because Thielen vacated what 100, just over 100 targets.
something around there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he vacated over half of the Vikings targets that are available were from Adam Thielen. They had 199 total, and I think Thielen was like 108.
Thielen was 107. You're so far off. You don't
Oh,
even know what you're talking
Jesus!
about.
Why am I even doing a podcast?
And by the way, he had 6 touchdowns. I don't have his in his green zone target rate, but he did have 6 touchdowns. So you would assume, especially Adam Thielen, he's
Yeah,
not scoring very many that are not close. So chances are a good amount of that is Adam Thielen that left him. I'm going to pull up real quick his game log. Do you know what week the NFL
Thielen.
trade deadline was?
It's week 8, isn't it, or 9?
Something
Thielen
like
had
that.
11 targets, by the way, inside the
11.
10.
Thielen in the games.
Oh, is Jalen Rager still a Viking?
I don't
He
know.
he had a inside the 10 target. It was a
Oh,
touchdown.
good for good
That's
for Jalen
100%.
Rager.
It's 100% conversion right there
That's right.
from the 1 yard line.
I do just want to point out that from week 10 on, Adam Thielen averaged 5.4 targets per game. It was a total of 43 targets after Hawkinson. And that's from week 10 on. So I'm assuming Hawkinson being on the team for those. Yeah, I think about 5.5 targets per game. You could maybe get a little something out of Jordan Addison, especially being a rookie wide receiver. You'd expect something an increase from that being in the
Right.
second half, right?
Well, if he's at 5.5 per game, I would assume it's not consistently 5 and 6 a game. I
Right.
would think he would have a couple spike weeks in there. Because I mean, last year with the Vikings, KJ Osborne would have spike weeks where he had 2, 3 huge weeks. I mean, so if Addison is having some spike weekend targets where he's having an 8, 9 game, but he's probably also going to have some 3, 4 games.
Right.
I'd almost rather have that because the 8, 9
Yeah.
games, he's at least when you start him, you should get something out of that.
And
Whereas
being
five,
and,
5 or 6, you're talking 3, 4 catches a game.
right. And being a rookie, you would hope and assume a couple of those shorter ones on the early part of the season, a couple of those higher targets in the later part of the season. He can maybe be a second half breakout for you as a rookie.
Yeah. So
One team I want to touch
yeah.
on with the vacated targets as a whole again is it's what I alluded to at the start there, the Seattle Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about them, how it's kind of a headache because you got these two rookies coming in, Zach Charbonnet and Jackson Smith in the Jigba. I feel like we have talked more about the running back side of that situation. At wide receiver, so you draft Jackson Smith and Jigba, my number one wide receiver in the draft. I believe he was the number one receiver drafted this year. And they only have 75 targets leaving the team. And I don't think they're going to throw a whole lot more, partly because you did draft Zach Charbonnet also, and we know what Pete Carroll likes to do. We've got 10 years of data on this, so that he doesn't use a lot of two tight end sets. I'm sorry, two wide receiver sets. It makes me a bit nervous that, hey, there's not a whole lot of, high opening up, and here comes this big dude, someone sitting at our table. What do you do? What do you make out of that for Seattle?
Yeah, so Gino had 572 attempts. I am trying to get that pulled up to see kind of where that ranks. And of course, I didn't get to it in time by the time you sent it to me.
The Seahawks were 15th in pass attempts.
So right in the middle.
Right in the
yeah.
middle.
So
I don't expect it going up.
No, I see them pretty much being right in the middle again.
Mm-hmm. Does that make you worry about Metcalf and Lockett? I mean, just because I don't think JSN's just going to have 75 targets. And if he does, it's not going to be all of the vacate ones just go to him and everybody gets their number again, right? Like everyone's pies are going to change a little bit in that regard. It makes me worried only 75 targets leave and you drafted a wide receiver in round 1.
Yeah, you had about 130 targets between 3 tight ends. Noah Fant had 63, Will Dissly 38, Colby Parkinson 34. So, I mean, I think you can take a small chunk away from the tight ends, move it to JSN. But yeah, I mean, someone's going to have to lose something in the receiver game if JSN's going to be anything, or JSN's not going to be very useful as rookie year.
But he doesn't have to be much in order to eat into those guys, though.
Right.
Like he doesn't, like I've got him at wide receiver 48. And I think if he is wide receiver 48, that's just going to bring down Lockett and Metcalf.
Yeah. And Metcalf's one of those guys I'm kind of souring on a little bit as the offseason goes on, to where I just don't see myself paying for his price tag. And part of it might just be JSN because, yeah, he is, to me, the most talented wide receiver in this class, I think, to most people. I don't think he's just going to be a nothing burger this year. And I don't think Lockett's over the hump yet where he's just going to fall off, and not be anything. Lockett has been the better fantasy receiver for 2, maybe the last 3 years.
For sure, 2
Seattle.
of the 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth on the price tag, Fantasy Pros ADP, Metcalf is going 35th overall at wide receiver 15.
I'm just not going to pay that.
Not paying around 3 price for Metcalf.
But JSN's not exactly cheap himself. Like he's probably 7th or 8th round right now.
86th.
Okay.
And Lockett is 69th.
Very nice. That's Lockett's probably the only one I would take out of that.
I don't even think I'd go Lockett there. Just here's some names around him for context. Christian Kirk and Drake London are right in front of him. I would definitely take Kirk over him. I would definitely take London over him.
See, I'm actually kind of thinking about out on London this year for
Are you?
redraft.
I get that. I totally
So
get it. I think at
so I
61,
I
I
feel
can
like I'm
agree with you.
having to choose between children here,
I
where
know.
between Pitts and London. We ran the poll at ADP dudes on Twitter whether you think that not only who would you rather have, but do you think they can coexist together? And I really don't think they can coexist.
I know.
As I mean, they can coexist as startable fantasy options. Like Pitts can be a starting tight end because that's not that impressive to be a starting tight end in fantasy, and London have a good season, but also London could be a flexible option or a low end wide receiver 2 for you while Pitts has that tight end 3 season. But I don't see both happening. And if I'm going to bet on one, I'm going to bet on Pitts.
That's
So
where I'm at.
because of that, I think I'm just going to try and avoid London this year.
Oh no.
That's been me this whole time. So I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I've been getting over a cold. And so the amount of times I've had to mute my mic because of coughing or just like drainage of my nose, which I'm sure people love to
Well,
hear about
and,
that. But
and that hit me like as I was in the wind up for a word. Like I didn't feel that coming at all, and all of a sudden, just here it was. Oh dear. That's how I'm feeling about choosing between Drake London and Kyle Pitts. I'm with you. And the thing about it is the tiebreaker to me is the positions, right? Because let's say they both have pretty middling 900 yards, 6 touchdowns. Neither one's a breakout. They both just put the same numbers. Well, for Kyle Pitts, that's a nice tight end year.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
For Drake London, that's like a mid-range flex.
yeah. If they both have 110 targets this year, if I told you they're going to have the exact same number of
Yeah.
targets, you're going to draft Pitts even if you don't know the number,
Is there
you're going to go
any
draft Pitts.
is there any tight end wide receiver scenario where like if you tell me they're getting the same targets, you're taking the wide receiver? You know what I mean? Like I feel like just the math
Right.
there. You know, like if you tell me that Dallas Goddard is getting the same amount of targets as AJ Brown, why would I be drafting AJ Brown that high?
Yeah.
You
Chig and
know,
Burks.
yeah, like yeah. So that's one to me. I don't quite get why London is going as high as he is. Now back to Lockett, I would probably take him over Lockett, but it's mainly because I'm just scared of the Lockett bust potential.
Yeah.
And in that range, I am excited about.
I mean, Tyler
If it,
Lockett is Nelson Cruz.
yes, that's
He
a great
just
comparison.
won't go away. Like
Yeah,
every year, he just keeps producing when we keep thinking he's going to fall off.
yeah. A few guys behind Lockett, real quick, are Ayuk, Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson, George
Well, I
Pickens.
definitely don't want Evans.
Versus Lockett, are you going Lockett over
Oh,
Evans?
I'll take Lockett over Evans. Yeah.
So I'd go Evans first out of that group, and then
Like
I think,
I'm not even trying to do a bit here. I would just
yeah,
take
he
Lockett
just
over.
I would go Evans, then Lockett, Ayuk, and then both the Steelers guys after that for me.
Yeah. There is one, I think you're kind of bearing the lead here of vacated targets on a team here.
Oh.
There's 157 vacated targets for Buffalo. So that sounds like 157 targets for Dalton Kincaid this year.
Who left?
Devin Singletary and Isaiah McKenzie are
I
off the
guess
top of my head.
I guess McKenzie must account for a lot of that.
I mean,
I do.
Singletary had more targets than Cook last year.
Did he? Okay, so real quick, we only have a few minutes left here. I've been wanting to ask someone, and I have nobody to talk to, so now it's you. Why are we talking about this Buffalo Bills throwing to the running backs and Josh Allen not throwing as much, and no one is saying the name Naheem Hines? Why are we all assuming the guy who's never done it over the guy who has done it?
Has Naheem Hines, did he play a lot of offensive snaps last year?
Nobody came in midseason.
Right.
I feel like I can kind of give him a bit of a pass.
But I feel like that's definitely the easiest skill position to fall into. I mean, we see running backs come off the streets every year and get significant snaps for injury riddled teams.
I wonder, okay, is that more of a running back though? Like, do you see a lot of pass catching running backs walk
I mean,
in?
passing game's not that difficult, right? For a running back. you don't have like a full like your route tree's not the same, and pass pro is pretty easy.
No, but
Go right,
is
go left.
pass pro easy? I mean, you're having to kind of communication,
Pa-
pick up the right guy,
pass pro is
search
the
the
same
guy.
language all around.
I guess so.
Not necessarily in the play call, no, but it's pretty easy to
I,
be like,
well, and I
hey,
feel like
Naheem.
there's a trust factor there, though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
if
for
I'm Josh
sure.
Allen, do I want the guy I've never met before blocking for me, or do I want the guy who's been on my team for 4 years and Devin Singletary blocking for me? So
Right.
I'm just wondering, like, why are we paying Naeem Hines zero attention? And he's going undrafted in PPR leagues, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but like saying we should be paying more attention to Naheem Hines feels like Giovanni Bernard when he went to Tampa. It feels like uh who's in Vegas now? Amir Abdullah. Like
oh, Amir Abdullah never did what Naeem Hines has done, though.
it always feels like every year there's a pass catching back that goes to a new team, and we're just like, we're not talking about him enough. And then guess what? It's just like the tight ends. We're not talking about this guy enough.
We didn't talk about Jared McKinnon enough.
Yeah, but Jerick McKinnon had one stretch at the end of the year.
And if that, and you know, if it's at the end of the year, right, you've dropped him by then. But what if it's at the start of the year for for Hines? I'm just saying. I think in a zero RB build at running back, I
Hey,
think in PPR, I think Naeem Hines isn't a bad guy to throw on the end of your bench. Oh, instead of a kicker.
Naheem Hines has fooled me before because he had that big week one where he caught a lot of passes. I don't remember which year that was. Really thought he was going to do something that year.
Was that Taylor's
And
rookie year?
maybe it was before his RB. I think it was the year before his RB1 year.
Yeah. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that episode of me and Tanner talking a little bit more about some vacated targets and on a few different teams on that one. If you want more of that kind of action, go check out the other episode. Me and Tanner talked about the Buccaneers. We talked about the Packers a little bit, kind of what vacated targets might mean for those two teams. So go check that one out.